there we are. Now we're recording. I get so many phone calls, especially about the mastermind groups, right? Because I've got a couple of spots left in one of the groups, and they're saying things like, I just don't know if I'm at the same place. I don't want to hold people back. You aren't. Oh my goodness. We all have so many of the same questions. And that's one of the reasons that the mastermind groups are so cool. Because it really is. It helps us learn from one another and find out that we're all pretty much the same. We all kind of struggle with the same things. And that's what today is about. We're talking about how to project make financial projections for Q1. And Q1 just means quarter one, when you see me talk about Q1. And I'm tying that in today with sort of how to get through the UGG right now, right? That's why you see me with such a widescreen view here, because one of the things that I want you to think about for Q1, it's not just about the financial projections, right? So what I really, really want you to get from today is I, of course, want you to have strategies to project your finances. And that, of course, means projecting time, projecting revenue, projecting retirement. We're going to talk about how to get organized, but it's also about your health and your well-being and your relationships. Okay. And that's what this wide angle lens is all about, right? Because if finances just, trigger your fight, flight, freeze, fawn response, you're going to have to get a way to get out of it. I mean, you're in business. This is part of it, right? So you have to push through it using groups like this, using me, or if you're in the any other group that you're in, they are there to push you out of that comfort zone, right? So this morning I was getting ready to hit send on my email, and I was just kind of stuck. I was like, I'm not feeling it today. So I thought, okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to show everybody how I get moving, right? And when I talk about getting moving, like I feel overwhelmed, how do we get to a space where I can at least get creative, right? Because if you're not doing well here, it's hard to pretend to be creative, right? I can't just come here and get in front of the camera and sort of put on a happy face, right? I have to get my head in the right space before I do these things. And it doesn't ever, I don't think, come naturally to us. So I do have some tricks. And one of the things, you may get really overwhelmed looking at this, and you can't even see my bookshelf and my bulletin board. I'm a very visual person. And so if it's not out, it doesn't exist, right? It's almost like I never got out of that concrete operations phase as a little kid, right? And so things like musical instruments, if they were in a case, I didn't practice. So when I had kids, we had a policy in the house where all the instruments were out at all times. I mean, everything. Like I've got a cello on the wall. And just last week, I had my husband put up one more hanger for me, because in between sessions, I was like, I want to just be able to shake this off a little bit and just do something different, get my hands and my brain thinking. And I wanted to hang the guitar up where I could see it. The yoga mat over there on the floor, when I'm in a space where I'm just, if I get on the floor and I just stretch and I'm nothing really strenuous, just stretch my legs, stretch my arms. If I can do a little bit of meditation or focus on my breathing. I know one of the visuals I shared this morning in Texas Counselors Creating Badass Businesses is sitting on a plane. Like sitting on a plane is just content. Like when I'm trying to feel just content, which is better than overwhelmed, right? So content, I picture myself on that plane. Nobody wants anything. Nobody needs anything. I don't buy the Wi-Fi. I'm just sitting there kind of in stasis until that plane gets to where I need to be. Then boom, I can get back into gear again, get the Uber, get to the hotel, get my presentations ready, all the things, right? So also, if you notice up here, if you've watched my videos before, this is always playing in the background, because the reason we're doing this is for our 5-year, 20-year from now selves, right? So I want 5 year from now, Kate, to be really proud of me. And so I remind myself by showing some pictures I'm proud of in my past, or me doing some things that are action oriented and doing things that I love. And I show pictures of women my age and older because that's what I'm aspiring to be. I want to be this active older woman who can do things and be meaningful and still have a business and a life and all of these things that, ageism really does a number on you when you get into your 50s, if you let it get into your head, right? So you see this map behind me is the Appalachian Trail. And every month I put a pin in it. So I'm thinking this time next year, I will have walked the damn thing from the seat. So having these cues around me that helps get my creativity flowing. Now, that may not work for you, and that's okay. But I'm doing all of this prep work because I know finances can put us in a state of fear. Right. So as I kind of preload this, right, first of all, we're getting our head in a good space, right? It doesn't have to be joyful, happy, right? It simply, we're trying to get from overwhelmed to content. So take a second and breathe. Put yourself on the plane, or if you're like, Kate, I'm terrified of flying, don't put yourself on a plane. Put yourself in a space where you feel content. Nobody wants anything. Nobody needs anything. So it's not a 4-year-old's birthday party. It's not at your in-laws for the holidays. This is a space where you are sitting. You've got your face in the sun. Nobody wants anything. Nobody needs anything. And remember, financial projections are only one part of personal goals and business goals. All right. So I'm going to read these off to you, and then I'm going to do some screen sharing. Actually, I'm going to do better than that. Because if you're feeling visual today, like I was, then I'm going to type it out for you. So let's do a little screen sharing. And for those of you watching this on replay, welcome, welcome. I hope you enjoy it, and I hope it helps. Okay, has Facebook moved? No, of course it hasn't. Here we go. All right, sharing the screen. So when we talk about goals, let's look and you may come up with different ones. So if you're brand new, if you are in the 40-hour training to become a supervisor and you're watching this, if you're a grad student, or if you're a full-blown seasoned business owner, you may come up with some different ideas here. But when we talk about goals, let's start with personal, financial, which is what we're talking about today, and business. Yes, it's different than financial. So with personal, what I think of when I think of personal is health, friendships, and well-being. So for my health, I might have as a goal for Q1, schedule doctor's appointments, make sure that I'm walking 30 minutes every day. If I have medication or things that I need to keep track of, that I'm doing that. Friendships, that it can be challenging if you've moved to a new town, if you are in a different season of life, if you've launched kids, if your partner status has changed, you may need to make new friends, or that's always been a challenge for you. Then you'd set a friendship goal. And then well-being for me is I've always set a goal to go hear some live music, or to go hear a fascinating speaker, travel someplace to go experience something new. I'm going to skip financial for a second. Business goals. This is what I'm selling. So if you're still in the therapy room and you're selling hours, that's great. We talked about that last week. Check out the podcast. I talked a lot about how to decide what it is that you're selling. And it's not just therapy, right? It's an hour. So it's Monday at 5, Tuesday at 5, Wednesday at 5, Thursday at 5. Those are like, if you think of them like hotel rooms, which one of those hotel rooms is selling best, right? Those are your products. So sitting down and deciding which ones are selling is part of decluttering so that you can have a more profitable Q1. What I want to sell. So perhaps that's you setting some goals outside of the therapy room, like online courses, speaking gigs, getting that job as an adjunct instructor at a local university. And that is selling your time. And then finally, again, you may come up with your own bullet points, but mine was legacy. What do you want to eventually sell this business for? What do you want to leave as a legacy for your community? How do you want to be remembered? So this, it's kind of a loaded bullet point right here, but you can, for me, it's how would I, if I, have gotten a terrible accident or something happened to me, what would I be leaving for those around me to have to deal with? So this could be a professional will. This could be, do you have all of your ducks in a row as far as your notes, or, is everything just ship shape and ready to go? So you could see these are trainings by themselves, right? But today I'm focusing on delete, financial projections. So we're going to talk today. You'll get some ideas about how to do revenue goals. If I could spell. Thank you, spell check. Organizing your finances. And retirement. Right. So that's, again, those are just 3 bullets I came up with when I think about projections for Q1. I want to make sure that I'm talking about revenue goals, how I'm organizing my finances, if that's still working. And then am I putting aside money for retirement, or you may do investments or something else, right? So first things first, you hear a lot with financial goals about, paying yourself first. I even say pay yourself first, but you do have to keep your lights on, right? You do have to be able to pay your bills and keep the software going if you're fully telemedicine, or keep your rent paid if you're actually in an office. So paying your bills first is important. I feel like okay, I go back and forth, not going to lie, but keep your lights on and then pay yourself. That's what I'm sticking with today. So I'm going to show you a couple of spreadsheets, because when we look at revenue goals, we have to include keeping the lights on. So when let's look at the sample break-even analysis. This is something that I have in our resources in the Step It Up group. And yes, it's a kind of complicated spreadsheet, but if I just focus here, if we just look at it at its very, very basic, what you've got at the top here are January through December. So 1 year, 12 months, and it's fictitious. I mean, these are made up numbers for now, but you see it, the expenses are on my left here above the pink line. And then below the pink line, we can figure and play with numbers for clients. So figuring out the number of appointments that you need each month that will help you make sure your bills are paid, right? And then tell you when you're making a profit. So this is something you can go back. There are other videos that I've done on YouTube explaining how to do a break-even analysis. But just in a nutshell, we add up all the expenses for January, and you see they're going to be way more than, say, May, right? Because these are startup expenses. So in the pink, we've got this pretty large number, over $9,000. And let's say you're doing cash and you're charging $150 and you only have 10 appointments that month. That's pretty normal starting out. You have client income or revenue of $1,500, but you didn't break even, right? You may have to have a financial bridge. You may have to ask your caring partner to sort of carry the load at home for a little bit, because as you go, yes, you're going to have more sessions. These aren't clients, these are sessions each month, but it still looks like at $150 an hour, it's going to take you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 months before you are not in debt, right? Because that $8,000 doesn't just go away, right? You carry it over, but it gets a little bit less the more the more hours that you have, the more sessions you have. So this number here, these numbers, the number of sessions you have each month at a particular rate becomes super important, right? And that's why the next piece of this is to drill down into which days and which times are the most profitable for you. If you take insurance, looking at which insurances are reimbursing you the best. And if you specialize in taking lower insurance reimbursements, that's okay. That's wonderful. If you're doing that for your community or the demographic or the population, or perhaps you live in a town where this is the industry and this is the industry insurance, and this is just what people are able to pay, that is okay. You still need to drill down and see this next piece, which is which days and times are working. Now, I did this back in 2015 with a business coach. So please, take a breath, because I know it's a lot of numbers. So here's what I've got. I'm going to walk you through it. So what I decided was I was going to check on Friday. Every week I would go down into my numbers and I would check every Friday. So actuals are the number of actual sessions that I had, right? So again, this doesn't matter if I'm making $60 per client or $150 per client. This, I would count the number of actual sessions that I had. And then I would make a projection. Don't remember how I did that. I might have been pie in the sky, but it doesn't matter. I was at least putting a number out there that I wanted to make, right? So now we're getting into that financial projection. Then next week, that would be the following week's projected. So and again, you don't have to get this involved, but here's the magic. I looked at the number of 10-minute consultations. And if you watch my YouTubes, if you've listened to the podcast, I talk about this 10-minute consultation, how we convert potential clients to actual clients or happy referrals because they're not a good fit, and raving fans. So this was so important because this was the key to my success. The number of 10-minute consultations I was looking to see if there was a correlation between the number of 10 minutes and the number of new clients. Now, I'm going to scroll down because this was, oops, wrong. There we go. So let's look at where I actually started getting some data. What I was starting to track were the weeks where I had 10-minute consultations and then we had new clients, or I had new clients. So the number of 10-minute consultations, the number of new clients, the number of consultations, the number of new clients. So what I was tracking in business, we call that a conversion rate. So this was me actually speaking to clients, talking to them about schedule and rate, and then determining, again, if they're going to become an actual client, a happy referral, and a raving fan, right? So this kind of number, as you're making your projection into January, is so important because this will actually give you a real number. And if you're not a spreadsheet fan, that's okay. I mean, you can look at this and let's delete a bunch of this. Let's get rid of let's get rid of this middle one. Boom, delete. And all of this stuff. Let's get rid of all that. Delete. I know. You're fine. It's okay, Excel. So now you can see if you just wanted to track last week's actual appointments, the number of 10-minute consultations you did this week, and then the number of new clients, you'll start to get your conversion rate. Now you can start making some projections. And remember, I'm going to pull this is revenue. This is a revenue goal, okay? Because you're projecting client income. I haven't taken out expenses or anything like that. That is just revenue. All right. Now, organization. Let's talk about that a second. If you're going through, thank you, Excel. I'm going to close this and it's going to ask me if I want to save it. I'm going to say no. Thank you, though. As you start thinking about your projections and financial projections for quarter one. Revenue, yes. How many clients do you have? How many direct hours are you currently doing each week? What are your projections? What do you want to do? What is your break-even analysis? Say you have to do it in order to keep your lights on, right? All of those things. I'm an Excel fan. You may be a paper and pencil fan, but you have to decide on something. Do not just contract this out to somebody. You have to learn your business before you can contract out your business, right? You can't give this job to somebody else until you learn what it is that's actually working. All right. So when we did the break-even analysis, I know that's hard, but you can go download the YouTube video and I'll walk through it with you bit by bit, piece by piece. If you're in the mastermind group, I will walk through it with you bit by bit, piece by piece, and we will figure out what you need in order to keep the lights on and then start paying yourself, right? If, again, you're not an Excel spreadsheet fan, you must still understand the number of hours you worked last week, the number of hours you need to work next week, and what is that magic secret sauce in the middle that is helping you book clients. And this is the other piece that you need to keep in mind. Are you booking them on a day and a time when they actually show? Because that's the other thing you're tracking. If you're booking every week, I've got a new client every week, Saturday at 9 a.m. They never show up, but doggone it, my conversion rate for Saturday at 9 a.m. is great. I get that client booked, they just never show. All right, get rid of Saturday at 9 a.m. Your financial projection for January should not include booking a client at 9 a.m. on a Saturday. All right, finally, let's talk about retirement. And I'm going to pull up pumpkin money. I'm going to share my screen. Now, I call this pumpkin money because it's, I'm a big fan of Mike Michalowicz's book, The Pumpkin Plan. As we're doing our revenue projections for quarter one, and we're going through this process, we're doing a break-even analysis. We know how many clients we need to have. We know how many hours we need to work. We understand the rate that we need to work in order to keep the lights on. Then we do an analysis of what's the magic? How are we getting clients from phone call to first session, right? Then now we've got the magic. We understand the conversion rate. We need to understand what's selling. And that's where this can come in handy. So if you're thinking about stepping out of the therapy room, if you're thinking about staying in the therapy room, this is where you can start to track which products. Remember, each day and each time is a product. So you may look at your calendar and say, oh my gosh, Mondays and Fridays are terrible. Get rid of them, right? And so on my pumpkin money, that's what I'm doing. This is from 2021, and I tracked all of the things that I sold. I put them in a handy dandy little spreadsheet. I didn't do it. Excel did it. And what you see here is you'll see two dots. They're either super far apart or they're really close together. If they're super far apart, that's a profitable product. That means I made income here on few units, right? So didn't have to sell a lot to have some income or some client revenue. So there were some things here that kind of bumped that weren't bad, but why in the world would I keep this product or this product or this one or this one? Maybe that. No, I don't know. Why would I keep those at all if I know I could put 100% of my energy here and get way more bang for my buck, less stress, maybe even open up a few days in my calendar to work on my business instead of in my business. So this is important because you can make some really heavy duty decisions here. I'm going to wrap up today just by telling you one of the decisions I made a couple of years ago after I did this process that I'm teaching you right now. I closed my calendar Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. When I looked at everything, I realized that I could work Monday and Tuesday, make the income that I needed to make, even with no shows and taking into account, that type of thing. And I didn't need to really work and struggle to get Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. I mean, it was an epiphany. I just was like, oh my gosh, where is this magic sauce been hiding, right? But as I start my financial projections for January, I don't include trying to book clients on Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday. I book clients Monday and Tuesday. My clients know that in my 10-minute consultation, so they can make an educated decision about me and I can make an educated decision about them. I can do my break-even analysis based on that, and I can get some real solid projections going for January. Oh, all right. Do you need to put yourself back in your content place? I know this is a lot. I know working finances and working with numbers can be a lot, but you got to do it. You got to fight through the ugh. You got to have your room or your space. And as I mentioned in Texas Counselors Creating Badass Businesses this morning, even if you can't have a space that's all yours, back in the day when I had 3 little kids running around, I just put on a pair of headphones and the kind that you use to shoot guns, like no music or anything. I would face a wall, just turn my desk to a wall, and I would get to work, right? And I would put sticky notes on my steering wheel. I'd put sticky notes on the bathroom mirror. I'd put sticky notes on the RPM meter on my car because nobody reads that RPM thing anyway. You do what you have to do to get yourself in the space where you can start tackling this stuff. If you're ready for some more intense help, please consider a mastermind group. It's a great space to start chunking this stuff up, learning it at a speed that makes sense. Because remember, in addition to the 3 meetings with your group every month, you get a one-on-one 30-minute with me, right? And we can really drill down into this stuff. All right, guys, you're awesome. Keep being awesome. You're too important to lose to getting overwhelmed, getting burned out, giving up, and going broke. All right, this is Dr. Kate Walker. I'll talk to you soon.